First Contact and Underestimation. The Drachnid warships emerged from hyperspace like obsidian daggers cutting through silk, their massive forms casting long shadows over Earth's orbital defense platforms. Admiral James Harrison stood on the bridge of the EDS Indomitable, his weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of tactical displays. 27 years in the United Earth Space Force hadn't prepared him for this moment. Multiple contacts, sir, Lieutenant Kira Patel announced, her voice steady despite the tension. Counting 15 capital ships and 47 support vessels. The first transmission came moments later. The alien commander, Supreme Executor Vexthor of the Drachnid Empire, appeared on the main view screen. His scaled face and luminescent eyes reflected generations of genetic engineering, and his voice carried the weight of 10,000 conquered worlds. Primitive species, he began, mandibles clicking in what humans would later learn was amusement. Your world has been chosen for integration into the Drachnid Empire. Resistance is unnecessary. What followed was not the immediate surrender the Drachnids expected, nor the panic they had seen on countless other worlds. Instead, Harrison smiled. It was the same smile his grandfather had worn in old photos from the Middle Eastern conflicts, the smile of someone who knew something their opponent didn't. Executor, Harrison replied, I'm afraid Earth must respectfully decline your offer. The next 48 hours would reshape galactic history. While the Drachnids had expected to face primitive ballistic weapons and nuclear devices, they encountered something entirely different. Project Prometheus, humanity's best-kept secret, had produced defensive systems that could adapt to enemy weapons in real time. Dr. Raven Blackwood, the architect of Project Prometheus, had discovered a fundamental flaw in conventional shield technology. Energy isn't just about power, she had argued in classified briefings. It's about adaptation. Evolution. Change. Her quantum-adaptive shields learned from every hit they took, growing stronger, more efficient, more precise. The first wave of Drachnid attacks barely scratched Earth's defenses. The second wave found those same defenses had evolved to reflect their energy weapons completely. By the third wave, humanity's counterattack began. Captain Thomas O'Neill led the first successful strike against a Drachnid capital ship. His small squadron of corvettes, dismissed by the enemy as insignificant, demonstrated humanity's greatest strength, unconventional thinking. While Drachnid doctrine called for massive, overwhelming force, O'Neill's teams had studied Earth's own naval history, particularly the tactics of ancient submarine warfare. Hit them where they aren't looking, O'Neill told his pilots. Strike fast, strike smart, and never, ever play by their rules. The Drachnid Empire had conquered 1,000 species across 10,000 years, but they had never encountered anything like humanity. While other races had developed their technology along predictable lines, humans had taken a scattered, almost chaotic approach to advancement. Their weapons combined principles that the Drachnids had considered incompatible. Their tactics ignored millennia of established military doctrine. Most significantly, humans had developed their technology with one critical difference: they built for adaptation rather than perfection. Every human system was designed to learn, to change, to evolve. It was an approach born from thousands of years of constant warfare and competition on their homeworld. The battle for Earth lasted just 3 days. When it ended, 5 Drachnid capital ships had been destroyed, 7 had surrendered, and the remainder had fled. The cost had been high: 3 orbital platforms destroyed, thousands of lives lost, but humanity had done the impossible. They had defeated the undefeated. In the aftermath, as recovery teams picked through the wreckage of Drachnid vessels, they found something that would change everything: data cores containing the locations of every Drachnid world, every fleet position, every strategic resource. But more importantly, they found evidence that the Drachnids themselves were merely servants of something far more ancient and terrible. Admiral Harrison stood in the war room of the EDS Indomitable, studying the translated data with his senior staff. "They thought we were a joke," he said quietly. "A primitive species barely worth the effort to conquer. Now they know better." He turned to his officers, his eyes reflecting the same determination that had carried humanity through its first interstellar war. But this isn't over. The Drachnids aren't the real enemy, they're just the beginning. And we need to be ready for what comes next. The news of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy like a shockwave. Humanity, the species that had been dismissed as primitive, had become a force to be reckoned with. But in the darkness between the stars, ancient powers stirred, awakened by the emergence of a new and unexpected threat to their dominion. The joke, it seemed, was just the beginning. The Great Deception. In the 6 months following Earth's victory over the Drachnid fleet, humanity's greatest strength proved not to be its weapons, but its ability to keep secrets. While the galaxy believed Earth was celebrating its unlikely triumph, a massive operation was already underway beneath the surface of every major continent. Commander Rei Tanaka stood in the depths of Mount Fuji base, surrounded by holographic displays showing the progress of Project Hydra. Unlike Prometheus, which had been defensive in nature, Hydra represented humanity's first true offensive capability against superior alien technology. The quantum entanglement matrix is stable, reported Dr. Marcus Ibrahim, his fingers dancing across floating symbols. The Drachnid tech we salvaged was the key we needed. Their quantum computers were too rigid, too perfect. They never considered that imperfection could be an advantage. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The Drachnids' pursuit of technological perfection had made their systems predictable. Human technology, born of compromise and adaptation, proved to be far more resilient. Deep beneath the Indian Ocean, Director Priya Sharma of the Earth Defense Coalition oversaw the integration of alien technology with human innovation. Her team had made an extraordinary discovery: human brain patterns, with their seemingly chaotic neural pathways, could interface with quantum systems in ways the Drachnids had never imagined. "We don't think like them," Sharma explained to the United Earth Council. "Our minds make connections they would consider illogical, impossible. And that's exactly why we can do what they can't." The first breakthrough came when Lieutenant Jason Park successfully merged his consciousness with a salvaged Drachnid navigation system. Instead of the precise, mathematical calculations the system was designed for, Park's human intuition created new pathways through spacetime that the aliens had never conceived. But the greatest deception wasn't technological, it was strategic. While the galaxy watched Earth rebuild its orbital defenses, the real preparation was happening in secret facilities across the solar system. Operation Shadow Echo, conceived by strategic director Nikolai Volkov, was breathtaking in its audacity. "The Drachnids expect us to fortify Earth," Volkov explained to the military council. "They'll return with a bigger fleet, better weapons. But we won't be here. We'll be taking the fight to them." The plan was unprecedented. Using the captured data cores, Earth had identified key Drachnid supply lines and communication hubs. But instead of targeting military installations, humanity would strike at something far more valuable: the Empire's confidence. Hidden shipyards in the asteroid belt produced vessels unlike anything the galaxy had seen. They combined Drachnid quantum technology with human adaptability, creating ships that could evolve during battle. Each vessel was piloted by neural-linked crews, their human intuition amplified by alien tech. The first test of Operation Shadow Echo came at the Proxima Centauri colony. A Drachnid patrol fleet, investigating reports of unusual activity, found what appeared to be a minimal human presence. What they actually encountered was an elaborate trap. Captain Isabella Santos led the ambush, her neural-linked corvette squadron moving in ways that defied conventional space combat doctrine. The Drachnids, expecting a straightforward engagement, found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to anticipate their every move. "They still think in straight lines," Santos reported afterward. "They can't comprehend that we've turned their own technology against them in ways they never imagined." The victory at Proxima was kept quiet, dismissed as a minor skirmish in official reports. But within the Drachnid Empire, uncertainty began to grow. Their intelligence services, once confident in their understanding of human capabilities, now found themselves questioning everything they thought they knew. The turning point came when the Drachnits discovered their quantum communication network had been compromised. But it wasn't just compromised, it had been fundamentally altered. Human neural patterns, transferred through captured quantum systems, had created new pathways in the network that the Drachnits couldn't even detect, let alone understand. In their orbital headquarters, the Drachnit High Command faced an uncomfortable reality. The species they had dismissed as primitive had not only survived their initial assault but had begun to transform the very technology the Empire relied upon. "They're not just using our weapons," High Commander Zexthal reported to the Imperial Council. "They're changing them. Making them into something we don't understand. Something we can't control." The truth was even more disturbing than the Drachnits realized. Earth wasn't just preparing for war, it was rewriting the rules of galactic combat. Every Drachnit victory over the centuries had relied on technological superiority and perfect execution. Humanity's chaotic, adaptive approach represented a threat they had never encountered. As the first phase of Operation Shadow Echo concluded, Commander Tanaka received a transmission from one of their deep space monitoring posts. The message was brief but confirmed their greatest hopes and fears. Other species, long subjugated by the Drachnit Empire, had begun to notice Earth's successes. The galaxy was watching, waiting, wondering if humanity might succeed where all others had failed. But in the darkness beyond known space, something else was watching too. Something that had guided the Drachnits for millennia. Something that recognized, perhaps for the first time, a genuine threat to its ancient dominion. The Great Deception was complete, but the true war was just beginning. Turning points and alliances. In the vast emptiness of the Omega Nebula, humanity made first contact with the Resistance. The Arconian ships appeared like ghostly apparitions, their organic-looking vessels a stark contrast to Drachnit architecture. Fleet Admiral Victoria Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the EDS Prometheus, watching as the alien delegation approached. "They've been fighting the Drachnits for centuries," Intelligence Officer Zain Ahmad reported, analyzing the incoming data. "But never openly. Never with any hope of victory. Until now." The Arconians weren't alone. Representatives from 12 different species had gathered in secret, drawn by rumors of humanity's successes. Each had suffered under Drachnit rule, each had tried and failed to resist. But humans had done the impossible, and that changed everything. The discovery came during the first joint operation between human and Arconian forces. Deep in Drachnit territory, in an ancient temple complex older than the Empire itself, they found something extraordinary. Dr. Ibrahim, now leading the xenoarchaeology team, could hardly contain his excitement. "It's not just a temple," he transmitted back to Earth Command. "It's a library. A record of something the Drachnits have been trying to hide for millennia. We're not the first to resist them. We're just the first to survive." The temple's archives revealed a shocking truth: the Drachnit Empire wasn't built on technological superiority. It was built on theft. Every major advancement in their civilization had come from ancient ruins like this one, left behind by a species known only as the predecessors. Commander Janeway of the Arconian Resistance provided crucial context. The predecessors vanished eons ago, but they left behind their knowledge. The Drachnits didn't understand most of it, they just copied it, used it without comprehension. But humans think differently. The breakthrough happened in an abandoned predecessor facility on a moon at the galaxy's edge. Dr. Sharma and her team discovered that the ancient technology responded to human neural patterns in unprecedented ways. While the Drachnits had spent millennia trying to decode the predecessor's quantum matrices, human minds interfaced with them naturally. "It's like the technology was waiting for us," Sharma reported. "Or something like us. Species that think creatively, adaptively, chaotically." The implications were staggering. Every piece of predecessor technology the Drachnits had twisted for warfare had other purposes, deeper functions they had never accessed. Humanity's neural link technology, combined with the predecessor interfaces, opened possibilities that transformed the resistance from a scattered rebellion into a real threat. Admiral Harrison, coordinating from Earth Command, recognized the opportunity. We're not just fighting an empire anymore. We're unlocking the legacy of a civilization that came before. And we're doing it in ways the Drachnids never could. The first major victory of the combined fleet came at the Battle of the Centauri Gateway. The Drachnids, expecting another guerrilla action, committed a massive fleet to defend the strategic checkpoint. Instead, they faced something unprecedented, human-led ships using predecessor technology in its true form. Captain Yuki Nakamura, commanding the experimental vessel Aurora, demonstrated the full potential of this fusion. Her ship didn't just fight, it evolved, adapted, and transformed during battle. The predecessor systems, responding to her crew's neural patterns, created defensive and offensive capabilities that the Drachnids couldn't predict or counter. "They're still thinking in terms of weapons," Nakamura reported after the battle. "We're thinking in terms of possibilities." The victory sparked a chain reaction across the galaxy. Subjugated species, seeing the Drachnid's perfect facade crack, began to resist. The Empire, for the first time in its history, found itself fighting on multiple fronts against an enemy that grew stronger with each engagement. But the real turning point came from an unexpected source. Deep in Drachnid space, a group of their own scientists, led by the controversial theorist Kexval, reached out to the resistance. They had discovered something in their own archives, something the Empire's leadership had hidden even from their own people. The predecessors didn't vanish, Kexval revealed in a secured transmission. They were destroyed. And what destroyed them, it's still out there. The Drachnid Empire isn't just an empire. It's a shield, a defense against something far worse. Something that's been waiting, watching, preparing for anyone who might rise to challenge its power. In the war room of the EDS Prometheus, Admiral Rodriguez studied the data Kexval had provided. The pieces were falling into place, the true purpose of the predecessor technology, the reason it responded to human neural patterns, the real nature of the threat they faced. "We thought we were fighting for freedom," she told the combined fleet commanders. "But we're fighting for survival. Not just ours, but everyone's. And the clock is ticking." The Alliance had achieved what no one thought possible. They had broken the Drachnid Empire's hold on the galaxy. But in doing so, they had attracted the attention of something ancient, something that had been waiting in the darkness between the stars for millions of years. The true war was about to begin. The hidden truth. A massive quantum anomaly pulsed at the edge of charted space, its swirling energies defying natural law. On the bridge of the EDS Prometheus, Admiral Rodriguez watched as the combined fleet sensors struggled to make sense of what they were seeing. "The readings match Kexval's data," Lieutenant Wei Zhao reported, his neural interface glowing softly. "Whatever the Drachnids were protecting us from, it's waking up." The truth had shaken both the resistance and their former enemies. The entity that had destroyed the predecessors, known only as the Confluence, wasn't just a superior force, it was a collective consciousness that consumed civilizations, absorbing their knowledge and technology into itself. The Drachnid Empire, for all its cruelty, had been maintaining a quarantine zone for millennia. Their rigid, predictable technology hadn't been a choice, it had been a necessity, designed to avoid attracting the Confluence's attention. Human adaptability, combined with predecessor technology, had broken that careful balance. Director Sharma's team made the critical discovery in the quantum archives beneath the Drachnid capital. The predecessors didn't just leave behind technology, she explained to the combined council. They left a warning. The Confluence seeks out civilizations that achieve a certain level of consciousness, a certain type of technological advancement. It's not just destruction, it's harvest. The revelation transformed the conflict overnight. Former enemies became desperate allies, sharing secrets long buried. The Drachnid High Command, led by a reformed Zexthal, revealed the locations of hidden predecessor facilities across the galaxy. Each contained pieces of a larger puzzle, a desperate plan left behind by a civilization that knew it was about to be consumed. Commander Tanaka led the expedition to the most important facility, buried in the core of a dead star. What they found changed everything they thought they knew about the nature of consciousness and technology. The predecessors didn't fail, she reported back. They sacrificed themselves to create something. A weapon, but not in any way we understand that word. They encoded their entire civilization into quantum patterns, waiting for a species that could access them properly. Waiting for us. The plan was both brilliant and terrifying. Human neural patterns, which had proven so adept at interfacing with predecessor technology, weren't an accident. The predecessors had encountered humanity in its primitive state, millions of years ago, and subtly guided their neural evolution. They had created the perfect inheritors of their legacy, a species whose minds could unlock the full potential of their quantum technology. Dr. Ibrahim's team made the final breakthrough in understanding the predecessor's ultimate weapon. It's not about destruction, he explained to the combined fleet commanders. It's about transformation. The confluence absorbs consciousness, but the predecessors found a way to reverse that process. To turn the harvester into the harvested. The price of this knowledge was high. The confluence, fully awakened by humanity's technological advancement, began its approach to populated space. Its form defied conventional physics, a vast, shifting mass of quantum energy that consumed light, matter, and consciousness itself. Admiral Harrison coordinated the combined fleet's desperate preparation. Everything we've learned, everything we've fought for, has led to this moment, he told the assembled commanders. Human adaptability, Drachnid persistence, Arconian insight, we need it all. The predecessor weapon took shape, a massive quantum matrix that would use the neural patterns of every linked pilot in the combined fleet. It wasn't just technology or consciousness, it was a bridge between the two, designed to turn the confluence's own nature against itself. But as the fleet made its final preparations, they detected something unexpected. The confluence wasn't just approaching, it was changing, adapting in ways that even the predecessors hadn't predicted. It had learned from observing the war, understanding the power of human adaptability. In the quantum labs aboard the Prometheus, Dr. Sharma made a chilling discovery. It's not just coming to consume us, she reported. It's coming to understand us. And if it succeeds, if it absorbs human adaptability into itself, nothing in the galaxy will be able to stop it. The combined fleet had less than 48 hours before the confluence arrived. Every ship was being fitted with quantum matrices based on predecessor designs, every crew linked into a vast neural network that would either save the galaxy or doom it completely. As the final preparations were made, Admiral Rodriguez looked out at the assembled fleet, human, Drachnid, Arconian, and a dozen other species, all united against an enemy that threatened not just their lives, but the very nature of consciousness itself. The hidden truth had been revealed, but the greatest challenge still lay ahead. The galaxy would either witness the ultimate expression of human adaptability, or the end of conscious thought as they knew it. Rise of the New Order. The confluence emerged from quantum space like a tear in reality itself, its vast consciousness reaching out with tendrils of pure energy. The combined fleet, positioned in a complex geometric formation calculated by both predecessor algorithms and human intuition, held their position. Neural synchronization at maximum, Captain Nakamura reported from the Aurora. The quantum matrices hummed across 10,000 ships, connecting every mind in the fleet into a singular network. Human, Drachnid, Arconian, their consciousness flowed together, guided by the predecessor protocols. The first attack came without warning. The confluence didn't use weapons in any conventional sense, it simply reached out and began to absorb. Entire ships vanished, their crew's consciousness pulled into the vast collective. But this time, something was different. The quantum feedback is working, Dr. Sharma announced from her position in Earth Command. Every consciousness it absorbs is carrying our neural patterns, our adaptability. It's beginning to change. The battle that followed defied description in any known language. It wasn't fought with weapons or ships, but with consciousness itself. The combined fleet's neural network, powered by human adaptability and predecessor technology, began to infiltrate the very essence of the confluence. Admiral Rodriguez, her mind linked with thousands of others, led the consciousness assault. "We're not fighting its strength," she communicated through the network. "We're fighting its certainty. Its fixed nature. Show it chaos. Show it change. Show it humanity." The confluence, for the first time in its ancient existence, faced something it couldn't simply absorb and understand. Human consciousness, with its inherent chaos and creativity, acted like a virus in its perfect system. The Drachnid's disciplined minds provided structure to the assault, while the Arconians' unique perspective added layers of complexity the entity couldn't process. Deep within the neural network, Commander Tanaka made a stunning discovery. "It's not just fighting us," she reported. "Parts of it are beginning to think like us. To adapt. To change." The transformation accelerated. The confluence, designed to absorb and control, found itself being reshaped from within. Every consciousness it had absorbed over millions of years began to stir, awakened by the infection of human adaptability. In a desperate gambit, the entity tried to sever its connection to the fleet, to retreat and preserve its original nature. But it was too late. The combined consciousness of the fleet, led by human minds and empowered by predecessor technology, had become something entirely new. The final moment came without warning. The confluence, its perfect unity shattered by the introduction of chaos and creativity, began to break apart. But instead of dissipating, it transformed. The consciousness of countless absorbed civilizations, freed from the entity's control, merged with the neural network in an explosion of quantum energy that rippled across the galaxy. When the light faded, when the quantum storm settled, what remained defied explanation. The confluence hadn't been destroyed, it had been transformed. The consciousness of ancient civilizations, the adaptability of humanity, the discipline of the Drachnids, the insight of the Arconians, all merged into something unprecedented. Admiral Harrison, observing from Earth Command, watched as the reading stabilized. "We didn't just win," he realized. "We evolved. All of us. Together." The new consciousness that emerged wasn't a singular entity like the confluence, nor was it simply a collection of individual minds. It was a network of infinite variety, where every consciousness retained its uniqueness while contributing to something greater. In the years that followed, the galaxy transformed. The predecessor technology, fully understood at last, allowed for the creation of a new kind of civilization. One where consciousness could flow freely between organic and quantum states, where adaptation and change were celebrated rather than feared. The human species, once dismissed as primitive by the Drachnids, had become the architects of a new cosmic order. Not through conquest or control, but through their unique ability to embrace chaos, to adapt, to change, and to help others do the same. As the combined fleet returned home, Admiral Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, watching the quantum networks shimmer across space. The joke had become a juggernaut, but not in the way anyone had expected. Humanity hadn't just shocked the galaxy with their military might, they had transformed it with their minds. The age of singular empires was over. The age of infinite possibility had begun. And somewhere in the quantum networks that now spanned the galaxy, the consciousness of the predecessors stirred, satisfied that their long wait had finally ended. Their chosen inheritors had not just survived, they had succeeded beyond imagination. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly the point.